Hey, Ming here. I want to show you how you make caramel at home. Super easy, and there's so many different things you can do with caramel. You can make hard caramel, it's candy. You can make sauces. You can actually even make stuff like fudge. Check this out. How do you first make caramel? 4 cups of sugar, 3 tablespoons of water, and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. But that lemon juice needs to be really well filtered, sieve, right? You don't want any pulp at all. Thing about caramels, you don't want anything foreign added to the mixture. And you don't need to mix it. So here's the 3 tablespoons of water. The water just helps dissipate the heat evenly, because to get caramel, you actually completely evaporate all the moisture. So I'm adding moisture, but the water will dissipate it so you get a more even caramel. And here's the 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. On low heat, you just let this go. Now there's 2 schools of thought about when you make caramel and things crystallize. What I mean by that is when the caramel starts cooking, sometimes the sugar starts trying to get up on the sides. So when I was in Paris, we used to learn that you used a wet pastry brush and you would wipe the inside of it, and that would help keep it. But it was kind of a pain because you had to keep looking at it and keep brushing. I then learned further, like, I don't know, 10 years later, that if you actually just take a pan, not airtight, but a pan on top, this will do the trick, because what happens now is when this gets hot, the moisture hits the top, goes to the side, and then kind of a waterfall of water goes down the side and kind of does what the brushing does automatically. All right, this is going to take about 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes, you end up with caramel that looks like this. All right, this right now is 210 degrees. This is the tan stage. You want to go, if you go all the way to hard crack, which is 300, this gets nice and dark brown, and once it gets to that color, obviously the deeper color, the deeper in flavor, then you can make all kinds of stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and let this keep going. It's going to take about 5 to 6 more minutes before you can get to 300 degrees. So right now, this hit the hard crack stage. It's just a little bit over 300. Crazy hot, right? And you have to actually, to work with it, you gotta let it chill out. So now I just turn off the flame and let it go, because at this moment, it is so hot, it's too liquidy. Do not think of touching this. I wonder if it's hot. It's hot. Don't touch it. So now it has to come down. It's gonna take probably about 4 or 5 minutes for it to come down before I can actually work with it. Let it come down about 10 degrees. So I chilled this out, put it into a colder thing, because once you have this, you can do this hair. See that? Just a whisk that I cut off. See that little hair? And this will harden pretty quickly. And this is how you kind of make what we're calling like sugar nests, right? But it's really cool. Just make sure you put a bunch of newspaper or parchment on your ground. There we go. Now it's getting, it's very dull. You have to get the exact temperature. Look at that. So then this all gathers together, and now this you can gather. This is a spray thing, and I can make myself this kind of caramel bird's nest, right? And that's really cool to put on top of a dessert. That's really thin. But let me show you how you make caramel sauce. Now this you gotta be really careful. This is still at 270 degrees. Cream. Now by adding liquid to this, even just by stirring this, sometimes it'll boil. I'm gonna add such a little bit, like just a teaspoon to begin with. Look at this, look how it just foams up. See that? So you want to be really careful not to add too much, right? Because this is moisture, obviously, so it's cooking. If I added all this, this would boil over and we'd be in big trouble. So you make sure you have a whisk in hand. You can do this with butter too, but don't rush it, right? So now it's pretty good. So now I can keep adding, and this is going to be the best caramel sauce. And once this chills out, it gets nice and thick, and this is what you would put, I don't know, on ice cream as a sundae, or of course if you have like an apple tart, this would be the most delicious caramel sauce for an apple tart. All right, but again, it's a little thin now because it's so hot, but when this cools out, put a little bit here. When this cools out, you get an amazing caramel sauce. So that's how you make caramel.
Simply Ming is brought to you by Ocean Spray, Breville, Subaru of New England, Tefal, Wanjashan, Melissa's World Variety Produce, and Cape Cod Potato Chips. Watch Simply Ming on your public television station.